See that shit? We are a fucking old married couple. I went to say something. He's looking at the floor, and he put his fucking hand up to stop. That shit was amazing. You fucking bizarre guy.
I'll let you interrupt if you want.
I think this is where I think you are right and wrong. I think the comic gets tired of the character before the audience does. Bobcat Goldthwait going out on stage, the last fucking thing he wants to do is scream at everybody. But the audience buys tickets for the sole purpose to see the guy from Police Academy scream at them. They don't realize that Bobcat is an erudite. He's an intellectual. He's a ridiculously intelligent guy who is a super left-leaning, smart guy that has incredible stories and points of view. Now, Andrew Dice Clay, I was a witness. Oh, and if they go to the show and he just goes, "Hi, I'm Bob. It's really nice." They're like, "Do it. So he's trapped in this character. And Bobcat, and Dice is a guy. I was at the Laugh Factory when he tried to do material. Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
Andrew Dice Clay was at the Laugh Factory. I can't believe I haven't told. This is fantastic. So let me, really quick, nobody likes waiting. This episode, I'm going to tell you the story, but I totally forgot to do this because we have a new sponsor. It's Stamps.com. Everybody just hang tight. Nobody likes waiting in line at the post office. You don't.
No, I don't.
And you got a cool one. You got the Malibu post office. I think dogs like it because they get to rest their balls on the cool tile floor. If I was a dog, the post office would be like a heaven. If you're a seeing eye dog and your guy goes to the post office on a hot day, you're like, oh my God, I get to put my balls on the cool tile floor. But if you're a human being, going to the post office stinks. So, Stamps.com. I'm recommending it to you. All right? Check this out, everybody. With Stamps.com, you can buy and print official U.S. postage using your own computer and printer. It's quick, it's easy, and getting started takes less than 5 minutes. Listen, after that, you get postage for all of your letters and all of your packages the instant you need it, and the mailman picks it all up. You will never have to go to the post office again unless you just want to look at the wanted posters. That's why Matt Cohen goes. Or one of those expensive postage meters if you have a business. I came into these guys. We had a conference call. We had a meeting. I love Stamps.com. It's so convenient. I don't use Stamps anymore. I use Stamps.com. It's a great way to save time. It's a great way to save money. Right now, Stamps.com is a special offer for my listeners. No risk. $110 bonus offer. Includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. But only if you enter my last name, M-O-H-R. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click on the radio microphone at the top of the home page. Type in M-O-H-R, Stamps.com, enter more, and get your $110 bonus offer. Get your digital scale. Do it. They are now officially a sponsor of the Mohr Stories podcast, and that's it. I saw Andrew Dice Clay at the Laugh Factory try to not do his character and do material. And I got to be honest with you, cats, the shit was hilarious, what he was saying. But that audience at the Laugh Factory was so uncomfortable because all they wanted was him to go, gay, little Danny Woodhead, honey. Let me tell you something. I watched him have a panic attack. And he started yelling, "Someone bring me juice." He needed orange juice because he thought he was having a heart attack on stage. He was freaking hysterical. He goes on stage and he doesn't do any of the fake smoking stuff or and it's a full house, 250 people packed to the gills, and fucking Dice walks up. And look, I'll be honest with you. If I'm in the audience and Dice walks up, I want Dice. I don't want Andrew, whatever.
Silverman.
I don't want Andrew Silverman to, and if I go see Bob and stuff, I want that crazy shit. So I think these guys become prisoners of their characters, and I think they get tired of it before their audiences do. Dice, there's a group of Persian women in the front row, and they are dressed out everything's on display, right? And the whole time, Dice, what he's saying was really funny. I'm paraphrasing, but he goes, "My kids want to go to the park, right? They're like, we want to ride bikes." He's still doing the voice, but he's clean. And for some reason, it was so hysterical to me, the clash of these two worlds. To me, it was working. He goes, so I got to put the bikes in the truck. I'm the dice man. What do I know about bikes? I got a dice. He goes, I put a bike in the truck. I scratch my arm. I got bike chain grease on my pants. And then we go to the park. And the whole ride there, they're going, wait till we get on our bikes. Wait till we get on our bikes. I am weeping in the back. I'm laughing. And I think Dane was there too. We were laughing
what's the crowd doing?
The crowd was so uncomfortable because it was like they'd been tricked. This wasn't, he got introduced as Andrew Dice Clay, and this wasn't the product. You said Cadillac, and you brought a Lexus out here. This is too bizarre for words. And he goes, then we get to the park, right? I pull up in a minivan. The Dice Man. In a minivan. And the kids got out, and what do? They're on the seesaw. They're on the slide. They're pushing each other around the swings. And this is where I lose my mind. And he goes, and I holler out the window. I still got my seatbelt on. I go, whoa! What about the bikes? Silence. He looks at the front row and he goes, you big-titted animal! And the fucking place explodes. So like I watched firsthand a man break free from his handcuffs. He tried. The guy fucking tried. But that to me was so, what about the bikes?
Wow. That's amazing.
You big-titted animal! Oh!
I had the...
Is that Andrew? Is he doing Andrew there?
I had the unique distinction of having an experience that was amazing, and I think it was 1986. I was in Boston, and Lenny Clark got selected to do the HBO Young Comedian special.
Oh, you got it all wrong, Katz!
With Rodney Dangerfield. And
who else was on that special?
I'm going to tell you.
Oh.
So I asked for a couple of tickets, and I get there early. I'm so excited, and I hadn't been to New York maybe one time in my life. Could have been 84. You guys can look it up. And
okay.
I'm there early. I get seated in the front row. Now, the stage at Dangerfields is like a square.
Yeah.
And I was seated, if you're on stage, I was seated stage left. And I started watching the show. And this is before I knew anything about what it took to be the best or undeniable. And Lenny Clark was the first up. And he did a great job. And I thought, wow. That's killing on national television. That's unbelievable. Next up, Barry Sobel. And Barry Sobel, for those of you old enough to remember, was one of the first white comics to ever do Showtime at the Apollo. He had the ability to create characters and regular stand-up that were so bizarre and unique, but it also black audiences loved it. And he did a rap, I'm not the Beastie Boys, I'm not Run DMC.
My Zodiac sign. And then he got a black sitcom, 227.
227. Again, he booked a significant acting role, and he did a stand-up, and he was huge back then.
Revenge of the Nerds 2.
Then it was Carol Leifer was the next act, who did, again, another great job, and has become a great showrunner. I think.
Oh, she's great. I don't know. She's running shows. You didn't let me finish.
And then next up was Dice Clay. And
was he last?
No, he was the fourth guy before the intermission. And I didn't know him. I didn't know he was going to be on. I didn't know anything about him. And all I remember was sitting across. And when you're sitting in the front row in a room that has a square stage, and you're on the left or the right, you get the opportunity to not only watch the comedian, but watch the reaction of the people across the way from you. And there were these two beautiful, beautiful women sitting in the front row across from me. And he started doing his routines in that character with the, really, really dark, edgy, unique.
So I got my tongue up this chick's ass. Huh?
And I'm watching these girls lose their mind like a couple audience members at Def Jam after they hear a great joke. It was incredible. And it was like a roast. You were actually watching, because in a roast, the only reason a roast works is because you can see the person getting roasted and they're laughing. And so when you looked in the front row and saw these beautiful girls laughing so hard about, whether it was, swallowing cum or, big-titted animal or whatever, I got my tongue up this girl's ass, they were loving it. And it was the first time in my life where I actually realized that women like the dirty stuff just as much as guys do. And it was incredible. But it goes to the character. Again, he got trapped in that character because it was a great thing. But he could never come out of it, like you said. And there's only 2 instances. This is fascinating. You'll love this, I hope. There's only one guy who started off as a character. And like you said, at a point in time, at the height of this character, he said, you know what? I'm not going out this way. I'm going to go back to being myself, and became a bigger act and actor after that. Only one person in the history of comedy. Do you know who that is?
I'm trying to figure out who it is. No.
Steve Martin. Steve Martin was doing his character. He was selling out arenas. He did this one showcase once, and this whole thing, I guess he got a call that they wanted him for a game show or something like that, some crazy thing, and he just said, I think the story was he just said, fuck it, I'm not going to do this anymore.
You mean
I'm going to
go
be
on stage
myself.
with an arrow through his head and
Yeah.
bunny ears and go, hey.
Yeah, something like that. And there's only one comedian that started off as a regular comedian and then became a character, and the character rose and rose and never faded until he passed away. That was Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, Rodney created that character
he was
15 years in.
Yeah, he was Jack Roy. And so the thing is that if you're a comic, these are the odds against you. If you're doing a character, there's only one person that actually was able to do it and rise throughout his whole career. Everybody else rose, fell, and stayed the same. And I'm going to go at you right here, and we mentioned him one time during this podcast. There's only one guy that does a character that has never fallen, never risen, and stayed at like a high level of like theater gigs throughout his whole career, and never ever, it's most consistent ever.
The only guy. I know you're talking about. And it's a fascinating, hang in there and listen. Go to stamps.com and type in more. It's a fascinating thing because you're absolutely correct. There's only one comedian in the history of comedy that started at an A and for 20 years was an A and never dipped to a B plus, never, A plus, never dipped below 1,200 seats. Started 1,200 seat theaters and never, don't say it.
And we'll be right back. And we'll be right back after this commercial break.
No. Never, ever dipped. Ever. Started 1,200, 2,000 seat theaters. And today, right now, he's out there doing a 2,000 seat theater, doing the exact same sort of a character, but it is kind of how he is in real life.
Let's hope we got the same guy.
That'd be amazing if you're like, oh, I was talking about Alan Havey. Stephen Wright.
Stephen Wright
started at a 2,000 seat theater and never stopped. And he's the only, like Brian Regan grinded it out in the clubs for 20 years and earned it and fucking climbed up that ladder in increments and accepted incremental change in his career. Whereas Stephen Wright, what he did was so new and so fresh and so brilliant, you would think there wouldn't be a flyover state audience for that, but obviously there is.
Well, where there is an audience for it, and again, it's a lesson in comedy, and if you're brilliant and you write brilliant material and it's smart and it's unique, people never will get tired of brilliance. And I want to say something about, because it relates to Universal Amphitheater and characters. Even though they're not characters, this is my opinion of why comedians from the UK have never become huge stars here, except for maybe Billy Connolly, Eddie Izzard.
I believe he's Scottish, though, so actually it's smaller.
I'm sorry. So it's smaller. There you go.
I'm sorry.
So
I might go in the credits. That was amazing.
But the point I'm trying to make.
sorry.
But the point I'm trying to make is that, Eddie is in a situation.
Eddie Izzard.
I shared this with you the other day, and I'm just. to me, I don't know Eddie Izzard. I have more respect for him probably than for any comedian out there, and I don't even know him, and I'm going to tell you why, and I told you this before. You're in the UK or wherever he is, and you get a chance to do an HBO special, and maybe HBO does 4 specials a year, and they're always with Seinfeld or Rock or Don Rickles, or it's
It's good.
It's always some
German's got a boil on his head. Anyway.